Shredders feels right, but Skate doesn't. Why? On the surface, they're nearly identical games. I'd argue they couldn't feel more different, though. Often, people chalk this up to simply how they emotionally feel, the je ne sais quoi or some X factor. My argument? The difference is their sauce. And their sauce, I know it sounds like a reskin of X Factor, but to me, sauce is the distinctive personality that's crafted on purpose by the developers. It's also an acronym I created, SAUCE, or Sound, Art, UI, Characters, and Experience. Like an actual sauce, the quality and the blend of these ingredients make or break your game. I'll get back to how Skate compares to Shredders for each of these categories, but if you've made it this far, please drop a follow, hit like if you think that sauce is essential. I stream here and on Twitch, so tap in, let me know what you think the sauciest game is, or comment below. My big disclaimer, I'm gonna be critical of Skate and talk more about it than Shredders. I love Skate, and it's my most played franchise. Some of my best memories are playing with my brothers in Skate, in Own the Spot, Hall of Meat, and playing online. This game is technically still in early access, and every season has been better than the last. My hope is that it becomes a cyberpunk-like redemption arc, and I'll continue to play, and I hope they keep improving on genuinely fantastic gameplay. But let's start with sound. To me, sound in video games create and keep immersion. Admittedly, both of these games have decent sound. If anything, the skateboarding is amazingly tuned to the different environments and surfaces. Neither of them are breaking barriers like Hellblade did. And when it comes to action sports games, many would say that the important part of the soundscape is the track list. There's a reason for the iconic meme around track lists, like, hey, this song was in Tony Hawk, that song was in FIFA. Skate 1 through 3 has that iconic soundtrack, but it's rooted in nostalgia. Skate's track list is solid. It's nothing to write home about for me, but maybe 10 years down the line, there'll be some nostalgia to it. Shredders has stayed more on the ethereal Minecraft side of things. It's inoffensive. It doesn't take away from the game. I definitely won't have nostalgia for it either. They're both a true C-tier track list to me. It's not a true separator. If anything, I'd give Skate the edge in the sound category. If you want the best experience with these games, I'd recommend that you'd show up with your own snowboarding or skateboarding playlist, cruise around to that rather than relying on their catered playlists. Skate was always simulation based when it came to art. It was always the world and the gear where the culture came through. Skate 1 was like watching a film where you were inside of the film, you had the part. Skate 2 was gritty, anti-corporate culture. Skate 3, well, actually one of my biggest gripes with the game was the art direction because it started to move closer to a arcadey style, but it wasn't spitting in the face of skate culture by any means. The devs for Skate, they took a swing and stylized it, and they missed. They missed badly. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but it's a crime against art, a crime against humanity. The number one word association for a skateboarding game's art style is Fortnite. You messed up if that's the case. I don't even mind Fortnite's art style. It was distinct and it works for the game. But Skate, you're not that game, pal. You're not that game. Turning into something that's inoffensive to attract a wider audience is so antithetical to the culture that they look to draw on, and it hurts to see. The environment is stale. I've seen designers who've been contracted to make the skate parks feel more real, and they don't look that bad. The gear probably has the most amount of art expression, and it feels like all of the efforts and direction were put towards the cosmetics because that's the moneymaker. When there's a takeover and a ton of changes happen to the map for a season, it usually becomes bright sponsorships and brands plastered everywhere, like it's an SLS event rather than a new part of the game. Shredder stays true to the simulation style that they were going for. There are different cosmetics so you can customize your character, but there's a take on snowboard culture, and it's in the user interface when you're resetting or getting back up after a fall. But it's the user interface that does it, which brings me to the U in sauce. User interface isn't often talked about when reviewing games. To me, this is the category to look at to see if the devs cared about what they were making or if this was just a job for them. If the UI, the user interface, is an afterthought, then the game wasn't that important to the team. For example, the gold standard of UI are Atlas games like Persona. But if you played Call of Duty since Cold War, you may not notice, but you can absolutely feel the needless complexity in the UI, even though they look to simplify it. It's boxes on boxes on boxes on boxes. Crucial info is nested while meaningless stats are constantly presented to you. How well you efficiently display information matters moment to moment while you're playing. It's hard to get right, clean and smooth, and takes patience, massive amounts of testing, and getting in the mind of the audience that you're seeking to service. And moment to moment with Skate, my brain is getting smacked with information that I do not care about. There are 6 tabs in the menu. 3 are primarily for microtransactions, with the store and the battle pass and the home, which have the store and the battle pass on it. Settings doesn't even have a tab. It's in the top right. You have to toggle to an entirely separate button. Menus are boxy once you're actually in the tab. You want to customize? Here are 6 boxes to do so. You want to move through the skate pass? All right, you got to get to the next box. Challenges? Good thing there are dozens of boxes for that. I haven't played Fortnite yet, but I'm assuming that's what it will look like. And I know it's what first-person shooters and extraction shooters have become. Less doesn't mean more. Shredders has 7 tabs versus the 6 tabs with Skate. Not one is focused on transactions, and they're all easy to get through because it's a carousel that isn't stopped whenever you reach a certain menu that has a pop-up automatically happening because they want to sell you something. It flows. It's easy to read. It's intuitive. All of this while maintaining an art style. And I wish that the menus were the worst part, but it's the heads-up display. I would say the best in class HUD or heads-up display is Halo's UI that's built in to make you feel like you're looking through the front of the helmet. I mean, it's just awesome. I alluded to it earlier, but Skate 1 through 3, it felt like you were being filmed. It felt like you were a part of a Skate film. The HUD of Skate should be tried for treason. God forbid a player goes to a popular area. Half of the screen will be challenges and other skaters and chats and emotes. You could turn a lot of these off in the menus if you look long enough, but even when turning off other players' names, or more specifically, their quick drop objects, you'll still get a weird staticky silhouette. And oh man, I could do an entire video on just the quality of life that is diminished by these quick drop objects. I mean, Shredders has quick drop objects too, but none of them are cheetah print, and you're not forced to look at other players' quick drop objects. When it comes to Shredders, there are 3 things on your HUD, and all are able to be turned off: the line score and the flow tracker, the current trick and points, and your speed. In Skate, you can load up your HUD as much as you want. There's a mini-map bar, the names of the locations you're in, the mission you're on, the tasks that you have pinned. You can have a flick trick map in the center to bottom, and also the D-pad that turns into the line score in the bottom left. Like 40% of your screen could be HUD if you wanted it to. I think that Skate's HUD is one of the biggest gripes that people have with the game that they don't even realize. One thing they definitely realize, though, and are quite vocal about, is the characters. How characters are written and implemented into games can make a small game like Undertale become one of the biggest indie darlings, or a massive game like Ark Raiders having one of the biggest controversies of the year with AI voice acting. And let me tell you, on topic of voice acting, Skate is rough. It's real people, but it's rough. They'd even create character models, just floating heads to get you to the next mission. There isn't a campaign or a story. It's just missions, no personalities. And even though they have character names from past games like Slappy and Shingo, there's no character models for them here. They're just talking heads. When it comes to simulation action sports video games, there has to be an allowance for self-expression. And we've talked about it. The character options are solid, even without purchasing any cosmetics. Shredder's is more bare bones character customization, but there's decent options, especially with all the additions since the game was released. Free additions, I might add. The other characters and story in Shredder's is cringy, but at least there's an actual attempt at a story and characters. Honestly, all things considered, Skate and Shredder's are kind of a wash with characters too. But if you're going to a sports video game for groundbreaking stories or super deep characters, you're just going to be disappointed. The entertainment is in the moment to moment gameplay. If you don't have good moment to moment gameplay and the gameplay loop isn't flawless, the amount of fun that you're going to have every time you boot up will diminish over time. Shredder's loop is just like going to the mountain for the day. You start at the top, you maybe pop in for a challenge or two, you get to the bottom, you take the lift up. The controls are great, maybe a little too floaty when it comes to carbs, but it feels like you're boarding when you're on Shredder slopes. You can be as creative as you want on the board, which keeps me coming back. Admittedly, Skate's feel is the best, tightest, snappiest controls of any of their games. Skate's loop, on the other hand, is so checkboxy. There are around 36 daily tasks, and it takes a bit under an hour and a half every day if you want to do them. There's tons of tasks and challenges in your face at all times. The devs are guiding your experience, which is off-putting for a game that is supposed to be a true sandbox. You can make your own spot. You can create a cool line. You can have a session at a location with friends. And it's the best thing that this game is good at. But it doesn't feel like the devs trust you to do it properly. Skate wants you to play with people so badly. And if you don't do that, this game's really not designed for you. It's taken me many hours of playing, talking, making this video to come to the idea that Skate 1 through 3 were all single player games designed for a single person to play. This Skate is not that, and it's this game's original sin. No matter how great of a video game they make it, it will always be making a multiplayer game first. Before I started thinking about all of this, Shredder's was going to blow Skate out of the water on the sauce test. 100 hours into Skate, this game does have some redeeming qualities. Once you get past the expectations of a Skate 4 to, oh, this is a skateboard multiplayer game, it becomes a lot more digestible. However, even with nearly identical gameplay objectives, an identical gameplay loop, and a lot of the multiplayer aspects are very similar as well, these games still couldn't feel more different. The intentions behind making them feel different, who decided to make them is definitely different. And the cohesiveness of the vision of the game is just so different. Our expectations when booting up both were the same. We wanted a simulation board sport video game, but EA betrayed the IP. Now, Skate is sauceless. There's no getting around it in my eyes, regardless of how solid the gameplay is. The game was built to extract profit, not to serve a community of people who craved more from their favorite franchise. Shredders is dripping with sauce because the intention and the execution is all to serve a player base that's been starved for a simulation snowboarding game. Rather than nickel and diming, they drop free, massive updates. Skate locks their updates behind timed exclusivity. That way they can get a marketing beat for the people who pay the premium for it, and then they get a marketing beat for when everybody gets to have it. Shredders has the sauce because every part of it agrees with why we booted the game up. Skate is constantly in the face of the player's reason for booting up a skateboarding game. It's fighting itself to maximize the free-to-play monetization structure. In my eyes, Shredders is the Skate 4. It's the true spiritual successor to Skate 3.